Good morning, friends. Today we are going to begin a lesson in chemistry, chapter 1, matter in our surroundings. So, have you ever observed the surroundings and the matter around you? And if you are told to classify that matter, in how many different ways can you classify it? So, here we are going to begin with the chemical composition of matter. Now, matter can be classified by its chemical properties, even by its physical properties. What are physical properties? Whether it is hard or smooth, hard or soft, rough or smooth, yes, the texture and everything, color. But now we are going to move on to chemistry and see how we classify the matter around us. Now, if you look to your surroundings, we see a large variety of things with different shapes, sizes and textures. So materials have different shapes, sizes and textures. So that is what scientists have called matter. Everything in the universe is made up of material. Scientists have called them matter. So the air we breathe, the food we eat, stones, clouds, stars, plants, animals, tables, chairs, fans, computer, mobile, everything is matter. So even the smallest drop of water or a grain of sand is matter. Yes, so everything that we see around us is matter. Now the definition of matter is anything that occupies space and has mass. So now if you see all the objects around you, classify them. Does it occupy space? Now what is the meaning of occupy space? If one thing is already there, then you cannot put something else in the same place. For example, if you're sitting on a chair, yes, another thing can be kept on your lap, but not in the same place that you are sitting. Then you can say that you are occupying space. And matter should have mass also. So there are different techniques how you can measure the mass of a substance by physical balance. You can measure the mass of a solid, a liquid or a gas. Gas is slightly difficult because gas is to be put into some container. The LPG cylinder we have at home, an empty cylinder, yes, the gas cylinder we have at home is an LPG cylinder. When it is empty, the mass will be different. When it is full, the mass will be different. It tells us that when it is full, the difference is in the mass is because of the gas inside the cylinder. So matter has mass and volume. Remember, anything that occupies space and has mass, so mass and volume is matter. Now here we talk about perfume. What do you say about the perfume? Perfume is the smell or the fragrance of any substance. Now the perfumes of different objects, if you see different flowers, yes, and even the incense stick, agarbatti in our house, what happens when you smell them? There is a system in the body called the olfactory system, and it can detect the smell even if it is in low concentration. Then there is smoke also. So if you are in a place, now we have got no smoking zones, but if somebody is smoking a BD or a cigarette, you know the typical BD and cigarette by the smoke. In the same way, we know different flowers and fruits by their smell. So our olfactory system can detect the smell even at low concentration. So in that smell, how does the system detect it? There must be some particle which our brain detects, interprets, and then tell us what is the fragrance of the material. So perfume is also a matter. When you spray the perfume on yourself, there are small particles which flow around in the air, reach your nostrils, and the olfactory system, the olfactory indicator, sensors, smell it. The electric impulse goes to your brain, and the brain can interpret what the material is. But I've written some words here: love, hate, cold. Yes, cold is also something we cannot measure, and thought. These are not matter. They don't have mass and volume. They are just emotions but they cannot be measured by physical instruments. Now, when you will read biology, you will see that emotions are due to some chemical receptors, but as such, love, hate, cold, and thought, they are not matter, they do not have mass and volume. They are emotions which reside inside our mind. So, generally, we conclude that matter is anything that occupies space and has mass. Now, since earlier times, human beings have tried to understand their surroundings. Yes, that is the basic quest of human nature. He wants to understand everything. And I do not mean all the humans, but we are talking about some people who are highly philosophical and they want to understand their surroundings. They want to understand people around them. They want to understand the environment around them. Yes? So modern day scientists have evolved two types of classification of matter based on their physical properties and chemical nature. But in ancient India, the Indian philosophers, they classified matter in the form of five basic elements, also called the Panchatattva, that is air, earth, fire, sky, and water. So it was believed by them, their philosophy was that all the matter is made up of these five elements only, but in different proportions. So all the gaseous things have more of air, less of earth and fire. All the liquid things have more of water, less of air and earth and fire and so on. Now one question comes to our mind, why is human so interested in knowing everything? That is the basic sense in humans. Humans are different from other animals because their brain have evolved. And why is their brain evolved? Because human is interested. Yes? And he keeps thinking a lot and he keeps studying a lot, and by thinking, doing experimenting, he is reaching new conclusions. But the question is, why is human so interested? He may want to create something new. So in ancient times, people who grew vegetables and fruits saw that the honey is sweet, the dates, khajur, is sweet, the sugar cane is sweet. So there are some specific fruits we eat which are very sweet in nature. Yes? So what is that sweetness coming from? Is there a particle inside them which makes it so sweet? And once man learned to identify the particle, what did he do? He made sweets, mithai of many different types. Today, all the mithais that we eat are possible because man identified the particle of sweetness in the natural fruits like the dates, that is the khajur, then we have the sugar cane and honey. So man is always on the quest of building new things. So he learns from what is existing and makes new things. Yes? And secondly, man understood that if this particle also is the thought that if the matter is made up of same type of particles, it should show the same behavior or the same phenomenon. Yes? I hope you are understanding what I am trying to imply. We have got different things around us that is made up of different kind of particles. But a knife is made up of steel, a dish is made up of steel, a spoon is made up of steel. Yes, the steel material is there. Even though the material is different, they show the same properties because it is made by the same type of matter. So in the same way, if some matter has got the same type of particle inside, then they will show the same type of behavior. Like I told you, the honey is sweet, the dates are sweet, the sugar cane is sweet, so that sweetness of the material must be due to some particle inside which gives it its sweetness. Now, there's a small activity here. You can see in the picture, there is water, salt is added to water and it is stirred. So initially the water was colorless, no color, fully transparent. After adding the salt and stirring it properly, it still was colorless. But if you observe, what does change? The taste of the water will change. It has now become salty. but the salt cannot be seen. So why it cannot be seen? Because the salt dissolves in water. So why does the salt dissolve in water? It would mean there was space in the water where the salt particles got adjusted. So the salt also, which was solid, when put into water, started breaking up into smaller particles. The salt broke up into particles, and these particles were smaller in size than the space between the water particles. So they adjusted themselves between the space. So we say that salt dissolved in water because the particles were smaller in size. Now mud does not dissolve in water. So it is possible that the particles of mud, when still broken down, are still bigger than the space between the water particles. So it cannot take that space and it occupies some other space. Yes? So it leads us to understand that sand and water is made up of particles, even mud is made up of particles, but the size of the salt particles are smaller than the space between the water particles, so they dissolve. While the size of the mud particles are bigger than the space between the water particles and it does not dissolve in water. Okay, so observations lead us to conclusions, help us to understand matter. So this was a small activity to understand how salt and why salt dissolves in water and mud does not dissolve in water. Now, how small are these particles of matter? So we have now understood till here basically that salt and water is made up of particles. How small are these particles? So here is an activity. Take 2-3 crystals with small pieces of potassium permanganate and dissolve them in 100 ml of water. So first we have 100 ml of water which is transparent and colorless. Then a few crystals are put and the color is turned to pink. Okay. Now from this chart which you can see here, pink in color, out of that 100 ml, 10 ml is taken out. 10 ml is taken out and put into 90 ml of clear water. So can you see this 10 ml pink water and there is 90 ml clear water. So 10 and 90 makes 100. How much? 100. So when you put this 10 ml of colored water into 90 ml of plain water, it has still remained pink. So what you can see here, out of this small pink color 100 ml, you only took 10 ml. How much you took? 10 ml. Very, very less. So water is increasing while potassium permanganate, the ratio is decreasing, but still it is pink. Then again from this solution, 10 ml is taken, put into 90 ml of clear water, still the solution looks pink. It has become lighter, but it is still pink. From this light color, again 10 ml is taken and put into 90 ml clear water to give us 100 ml, and the color is still pink. So what you can see, smaller and smaller particles, yes, the particles are getting lesser in number and the water is still colored. So, you know, when we get hurt, what happens? As a child, when we get hurt or a small child gets hurt, we apply an antiseptic called Dettol or Savlon. Now, Dettol has got a very strong nature, so it burns the skin. Like, you know, it creates a burning sensation. So for children, what is done? The Dettol is put in little water to make it little lesser effective. Yes, not effective actually, but lesser strong. Make it a little less stronger. So if you increase the amount of water, then the strongness of the strength of this Dettol will keep on decreasing. So the skin does not burn. So the same thing happens in Dettol also. So Dettol has got some particles inside, very small. When put inside the water, it dissolves the water. Dissolves in the water and the strength decreases. And same with the potassium permanganate. Yes, so we took smaller and smaller particles and it still makes the water pink. Means the particles are very, very small in size. So you can see here a few crystals of potassium permanganate can color a large volume of water. So it is almost that this colored 1000 liter of water by a small. And how we got 1000 liter? You keep on multiplying the ratio. 100 ml into 100 ml and so on. We are going by the ratio. So what we conclude, millions of tiny particles are there in just one crystal of potassium permanganate. Means if you had taken these two pieces and put into 1000 these two pieces here, you can see here the pieces here, and directly put into 1000 liter of water, you would have still got a slightly pink color like this. It means that these particles are so small, yes, but it's still color. So this keeps on dividing themselves into smaller and smaller particles. So this is an activity which shows us that particles, that matter is made up of very small, very fine particles, and particles that we cannot see with our naked eye. Okay, these particles need to be seen with a microscope or a bigger one called a tunneling microscope. There is a bigger microscope or an atomic force microscope. Means the particles are very small in size. We can even see them with a simple or a compound microscope. So if you can understand, matter is made up of very small particles. So even a small drop of water, small drop of Dettol in one beaker of water will still give the characteristics of Dettol, because the particles are very small in nature. So what have we learned so far? We learned the characteristics of particles of matter. So first we learned was particles of matter have space between them. That we saw by the experiment of salt and sugar, stirring them up, and even potassium permanganate. Yes, the particles are bigger, it turns the color pink. So particles of matter have space between them. How do we know? The pinkness of the potassium permanganate does not stay at one place. It moves around in the whole water. Between the space, yes, so there is space between the potassium permanganate particles also and the particles of water also. Even if you dissolve sugar in water, now sugar are big cubic pieces, you can hold sugar in your hand, but when you put into water and dissolve, the sugar breaks up into so small particles that when you take out the water, you can no longer see the sugar at all. The sugar has completely adjusted in the space between the particles of water. When you cannot see the sugar now, but when you taste the water, you will feel the water is sweet. Means the sweetness of the sugar has reached the water. It has broken down into very fine particles. But if you try to see the sugar particles, you will not observe them. Okay, so we have understood that matter has space between them. Now second is, particles of matter are continuously moving. Now let us see a few things which show us that the particles of matter are continuously moving. Incense stick, I told you, agarbatti, when it is burnt in one corner of the room, the fragrance reaches the other end of the room. Why does this happen? Because when the incense stick is burned, some particles, yes, as the small smoke are coming out and moving around continuously. And when that particle reaches your nose, your olfactory system can detect that particle and you can feel the fragrance of the incense stick. So if the particles were not moving, then the fragrance would have remained in one place only. But because they are continuously moving, they are spreading across the room, so even if you are standing quite far away, you can smell the fragrance of the incense stick. Yes? Secondly, the activity of potassium permanganate can be done in hot water and cold water. You will observe that potassium permanganate becomes more pink, the solution becomes more pink in hot water. So why that happens? In hot water, the particles are moving faster. So you can see as the temperature rises, the particles move faster. Because the particles move faster, the solution becomes pink faster. So I have written something in red here. Can you read it? What I have written? Did you understand what I have written here? When your mother is cooking some delicious food in the kitchen, and while it is hot, the smell is coming faster. So while you're studying in a separate room, you can still smell what delicious food your mother is cooking, and it will automatically make your mouth to water, right? And if the food is cold, then you may have to go near the food to get the fragrance of the food. Yes? When the food is hot, it spreads this deliciousness, the fragrance, more faster. So even if you're sitting in the next room studying, you can easily smell what your mother is cooking. But when it is cold, then it takes more time or it doesn't reach the other room. So we have to go in the food to take its fragrance. And we also see particles of matter intermix on their own. So you just put, so now we put salt in water and you do not stir it. If you do not stir it, it will take a longer time, but still it will intermix. If you put a drop of ink inside water and you do not stir it, very slowly the ink will keep on moving. The particles of ink will keep on moving, yes, in the space between them. So the particles of matter are continuously moving. But why does this movement take place? So there is a specific term for it and an answer. This is a definition you should know very well. The movement of particles from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration is called diffusion. This is a very special definition. You will have it in biology also. But remember this. This is called diffusion. What is diffusion? Movement of particles from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. Means we talk about the instant stick which we burnt in one corner of the room. So where it is burning, the particles of the instant things are gathering, becoming more in number. So at one part the concentration is high. At the other end of the room the concentration is low. So the particles are moving from higher concentration to lower concentration, means it is diffusing in the air. I hope you are following what I am trying to say. Yes, when you drop a drop of ink in water, the ink is very blue at one place and slowly it is spreading. Why? The ink particles are very close to each other, there the concentration is higher. Because the concentration is higher, the ink will now start to move. Move where? To the parts of water where the ink is lesser. Then the movement keeps on continuing and continuing and continuing until the concentration is equal in the whole water, and then the water is equally blue. So once you stir it, if you stir it, it happens faster, but once you stir the ink inside the water, then you will see the water is blue everywhere in the same proportion. It is not darker at one side or lighter at the other. Now if you are drawing sharbat like Ruh Afza, which is a thick syrup, you stir it inside water or the milk, it dissolves but not completely. When left for some time, it again settles down at the bottom of the glass. But remember what is diffusion. Diffusion is the movement of particles from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. Now, next thing is particles of matter attract each other. This is also one property of matter. Now we have got an activity here, an iron nail, a piece of chalk and a rubber band. Okay, try hammering it, cutting it, stretching it, apply different kinds of force and pressure on it. What will you observe? Iron nail on hammering, it will get smashed but it won't break. To break it you need a cutter and apply high force. A piece of chalk can be easily broken down, yes, and a rubber band can be cut or stretched. But still they are holding each other with a high force. Now if you leave a rubber band as it is, it will remain in its own place. Yes, it will not stretch itself. It will not flow. The piece of chalk does not flow. Even when broken, the chalk powder remains at one place until a force like wind will push it away. So, these particles of matter have a force acting between them. This force is keeping the particles together. Yes, it keeps the particles together. This force of attraction varies from kind of matter to another. So why is iron stronger than chalk? Because the force of attraction between the particles of iron is more than the force of attraction between the particles of the chalk. So both are of the same type, but the force of attraction is higher in iron. So it is difficult to break iron than it is difficult to break chalk or glass. You can stretch a rubber band, yes, and when you put excessive force, then it breaks. So what do we understand here? The particles have a force of attraction between them and it varies from one kind of matter to another. Now we take a pen, a book, a needle and a wooden stick. Now note some observation. Do they have a definite shape and volume? You keep it on the table, you keep it on the floor, you keep it in the cupboard. Does it maintain its shape and volume? Does it compress by applying pressure on them? When you put a book and a needle together, will it diffuse into each other? Will it change the color or something like that? No. Why? Because solids have a tendency to maintain their shape when subjected to outside force. So when you apply force, solids have a tendency to maintain their shape. Solids may break under force. When you apply high force, they may break, but it's difficult to change their shape, so they are called rigid. Rigid means very difficult to change their shape. So solid have got a definite shape and a definite volume. Okay, now you see here the rubber band. What happens to the rubber band? When you stretch it, it changes the shape. Sugar and salt, when put in different jars, change their shape. A sponge, when compressed, change their shape. The rubber band changes shape under force and regains the same shape when the force is removed. Okay? The sugar or salt will change the shape according to the jar we put it in. A sponge has minute holes which are air trapped inside. When the air is removed, the sponge comes back its own shape. So these shapes are also called solids because they retain their shape until a force is applied on them. Now we talk about liquid state. So what is liquid? Say water, cooking oil, milk, juice, cold drink. If you put them in different containers, they will take the shape of the container. Yes? If you transfer from one container to another, but what you have to observe, does the volume remain the same? If initially it was 50 ml, does it remain 50 ml? Does the shape of the liquid remain the same? No, it changes according to the shape of the container. Then when you pour it from one container to other, why does it flow easily? You have to understand. And if they spill on the floor, do they change their shape and their volume, or only the shape and not the volume? So these are the questions you have to understand in the liquid state. So liquids have no fixed shape but have a definite volume. They take the shape of the container. And liquids can flow. And why they can flow, we can understand now that the force of attraction between the particles of liquid is lesser than the force of attraction between the particles of the solid. So liquids are not rigid, but they are called fluid. They can flow, and we can assume that, we can safely say that the force of attraction between these particles is much lesser than it was in solid. Even sugar and salt cannot flow. They take the shape of the container they are filled in just like the liquid, but they cannot flow. Liquid when kept open will start to flow. Now the next state of matter is a gaseous state. What is the activity here? A syringe is like an injection is taken, small syringes, and the nozzle is closed by a rubber cork. It is tightly sealed. The syringe is sealed. Okay, the piston is first removed. Water is filled in one. Yes, in one it is kept empty, untouched, only air inside. In one water is filled, and in one pieces of chalk are filled. Now the piston is put back, and what is done in the piston? Some Vaseline is put. So the Vaseline will make the piston move easily. Yes, and now apply force and try to compress them. Press it. What will you observe? That one which had air could be slightly compressed. One which had water could hardly be compressed. And one which had chalk could not be compressed at all. So this also activity leads us to one type of conclusion. What conclusion? That gases have no definite shape or volume and they are highly compressible. Gases can be highly compressed. Yes, so if you press the syringe with more force, the gas inside will compress. The liquefied petroleum gas LPG cylinder in our house for cooking or the oxygen cylinders in the hospital is nothing but compressed gas. Compressed natural gas CNG is also used as fuel. Due to its high compressibility, large volumes of gas can be compressed into a small cylinder and transported easily. Yes? So what do you understand from this? If you look at the LPG cylinder, there is gas inside the cylinder. Now if the gas was not compressed, how much gas would fill? Once you make T and the gas will get over. But what is done? A huge amount of gas is compressed to liquid form, highly compressed and put into the cylinder. And that is why the cylinder is of iron, because the pressure inside is high. The material of the cylinder should be able to withstand the pressure of the gas inside. For example, if you see a balloon, when you blow a balloon, you are pushing air inside it, right? The air is not compressed, the air is expanding the balloon. If you put too much air, the balloon will burst, because the walls of the balloon can only take certain pressure. Pressure more than that will make the balloon burst. That is why when LPG is compressed in the LPG cylinder, the cylinder is made up of iron to withstand the pressure inside. And that compressed gas will work for almost 1.5 months or 2 months. In the gaseous stage, the particles move about randomly at high speed. Due to this random movements, the particles hit each other and also the walls of the container and exert pressure. Pressure you will learn later, but what is said, when you compress something, the particles are moving very fast. When they move very fast, they are colliding with the walls of the container. I told you, exerting pressure on the walls of the container. That is why the LPG cylinder is made up of iron to withstand that pressure. So we understood what is diffusion. Now let us see the last conclusion of diffusion. Again the revision. What was diffusion? Diffusion was the movement of particles from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. So gases from the atmosphere diffuse and dissolve in water. Okay. So oxygen and carbon dioxide are two gases which can go inside water. In the air, when the concentration is high, it can move from air to the water. And why it is necessary? Because of the survival of all aquatic animals who need oxygen and all aquatic plants which need carbon dioxide. So because of the diffusion in nature, the aquatic plants and animals survive. Even living creatures breathe for survival. The aquatic animals can breathe underwater due to the presence of the dissolved oxygen. In biology, you will learn that the method of taking in oxygen is different from the terrestrial animals which live on land. But still, they need the oxygen and they get the oxygen dissolved in water. But how the diffusion? The oxygen inside the animal is lesser than the oxygen outside, that is in the water. So the oxygen moves from the water inside the animal. So solid, liquids and gases can all diffuse into liquid. We saw salt can diffuse in the liquid, milk can diffuse in water, and even oxygen and carbon dioxide can diffuse in water. So solid, liquid and gases can diffuse in liquids. But the rate of diffusion of liquids is higher than that of solids, in which the particles can move very fast and freely. In that case, the diffusion is faster. In the liquid state, the particles move freely and have greater space as compared to the solid state. And in gaseous, they can move still faster. So gases diffuse faster than liquids and liquids diffuse faster than solids. So here we end the first lecture today. What we have done in the lecture, understood the matter in our surroundings by their color, their texture, their smoothness, their roughness. We try to understand by different activities the properties of these materials, how the salt dissolves in water. We also saw that all the matter is made up of very, very minute particles, and that is why we can smell the fragrance of an incense stick at another corner of the room. We also saw that the particles are in continuous motion. We understood that particle dissolve fast means move faster when the temperature is higher. So potassium permanganate dissolves faster in hot water than in cold water, and we learned diffusion. Diffusion is the movement of particles from the region of higher concentration to lower concentration. Now all these definitions you can write in your fair book as homework. Make a book, all the definitions, all the keywords, the characteristics you have to write in your fair book. here we end the chapter for today. So not the chapter, the lecture for today, and I'll see you tomorrow with new topics. Okay, thank you.